strange stories of peculiar people and extraordinary events throughout history. This is Notorious Narratives.
Hi, and welcome to Notorious Narratives. I'm Robin.
And I'm Jen.
And today we are going to talk about Halley's Comet Panic of 1910.
Nice.
Is that right?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Sounded good to me. Perfect. Gold star, Robin. Gold star.
Wow. British accent. So for much of history, comets were thought to be divine omens. All of that started to change in 1705 when the English astronomer Edmund Halley published his Synopsis Astronomiae Cometicae.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not even looking at the word.
By using Sir Isaac Newton's gravitational theories to chart the paths of 24 comets, Halley hit on a provocative new theory that 3 comets seen in 1531, 1607, and 1682 were actually the same object. Just went through puberty.
How do you even know that? Like,
I don't know.
Math.
Find out.
So much math.
So much math.
I feel like that meme where it's like the math.
Oh, all behind all
the beautiful mind math.
Halley argued that the comet orbited the sun and whizzed by the Earth roughly once every 76 years, and he predicted that it would reappear sometime in late 1758 or early 1759. He said that it should return according to our predictions, and impartial posterity will not refuse to acknowledge that this was first discovered by Englishmen. He's really thrown that out there.
I mean, he was really excited to be English.
He's like, we did something. This is amazing.
I mean, the Greeks before them had done everything, right? The Greeks and the Romans. He's like, the British. Comets are ours.
Halley was eventually proved correct on all accounts. Although he died in 1742, his comet appeared in the sky on Christmas night of 1758, right on schedule.
Aw, he never got to see it.
He never got to see it.
That's a fucking bummer. That's such a bummer.
I'm sorry. So its discovery was hailed as a triumph of scientific reasoning and Newtonian physics. So British publication, The Gentleman's Magazine.
It's not porn.
No. So by its appearance at this time, the truth of the Newtonian theory of the solar system is demonstrated to the conviction of the whole world, and the credit of the astronomers is fully established and raised far above all the wit and sneers of ignorant men. So the French astronomer Nicolas Louis de Lacaille named the comet in Halley's honor.
Nice.
I mean, better.
Right?
He deserves it.
I predicted that shit.
I know, right? I was right. So scientists now believe that the comet 1P Halley, as it's formerly known, has been zipping through the solar system for as many as 200,000 years. So Edmund Halley only identified a handful of occurrences of his comet, but other scholars have plotted its earlier appearances and uncovered historical references dating back to the ancient world. In a 2010 paper in the Journal of Cosmology, researchers Daniel W. Graham and Eric Hintz suggested that one of the earliest known sightings of Halley's Comet may have occurred around 466 BC in the skies over Greece.
Mental.
Ancient accounts of the incident mostly center on a wagon-sized meteorite that landed in the Hellespont. I don't know what that is.
Sure.
But they note that the strike was accompanied by a huge fiery body.
Oh, so people wrote about this meteor strike, and then they talk about how there was this, comet in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how they're able to track it. Because of the meteor strike, they're finding...
huge fiery body, and this huge fiery body was actually visible in the sky for 75 days.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the debris. According to Graham and Hintz, the timetable matches up almost perfectly with Halley's Comet projected appearance in the 5th century BC.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could track it back like every, 76 years you said?
Yeah.
Or just on and on and on.
200,000 years.
Holy crap.
So while it's possible that the comet the Greeks saw was Halley's, more reliable accounts of the flybys didn't appear for another few centuries. One of the most famous references is found in China in the Han Dynasty's records of the Grand Historian, which describes a broom star that appeared in the sky in 240 BC. Other early sightings came from the Babylonians, who recorded the comet in 164 BC. And in 87 BC, transcripts were found on clay tablets, and from the Romans, who had made reference to it in 12 BC.
Wow.
Been around for a long time.
Yeah.
That bitch is old.
Who knew?
So Halley's Comet inspired both fascination and horror in its early observers. The celestial visitor was often considered a bad omen and was linked to everything from death of kings to natural disasters. The historian Flavius Joseph described a comet of 66 AD as a star resembling a sword, and considered it a portent of the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans. Several centuries later, the comet of 451 was thought to signal Attila the Hun's defeat at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains. In 1837, meanwhile, the Roman Emperor Louis feared the comet was a signal of his downfall and tried to ward off its influence with fasting, prayer, and the alms for the poor.
I mean, that's nice. I mean, be nice to the poor people because you're
he's
afraid that the comet is a bad omen. Whatever, man. Whatever makes you be a better person, right?
Sure. So the most famous appearance of Halley's Comet occurred in 1066, when it coincided with the Norman conquest. According to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, in the month before William the Conqueror set sail for England, a portent such as man had never seen before, what was seen in the heavens, was dictated, and contemporary observers consider that the long-haired star was a bad omen for the English King Harold II, and the prophecy was later fulfilled when William defeated and killed him at the Battle of Hastings. Halley's Comet was later included in a section of the famed Bayeux Tapestry, which depicts King Harold and the crowd of fearful Englishmen watching it streak through the sky. The strange effects of Halley's Comet only continued over the next several centuries. Its 1222 appearance is sometimes credited with inspiring Genghis Khan to dispatch his Mongols on an invasion of Europe, and its 1456 return famously overlapped with the Ottoman Empire's invasion of the Balkans. The comet may have also crept into works of art, and after viewing it in 1301, the Italian artist Giotto is said to have depicted Halley's Comet as the Star of Bethlehem in his painting of the Adoration of Magi. So people began watching the comet with a more scientific eye in the 16th and 17th centuries, but it was still causing anxiety as recently as 1910. As a comet neared the Earth that year, the New York Times wrote that a French astronomer named Camille Flammarion had warned that the poisonous gas in its tail might impregnate the atmosphere and snuff out all life on the planet.
Well, that's some sensationalist media for you. Jesus.
Other scientists dismissed the claim as nonsense, but the prediction still sparked a minor panic. Before the comet passed by without incident that spring, many people sealed up their homes to keep out the fumes, stocked up on gas masks, went to churches to pray for salvation, you name it. So the more gullible among them even bought anti-comet pills from street vendors.
What was in an anti-comet pill?
Sugar.
Please. Sugar. All right.
From street vendors that said that it was to protect them from the gases of the comet's tails.
Sure.
Comet's tails, whatever. I have a list here of some silly, some not, superstitious events.
Okay.
That occurred based on Halley's Comet. So according to some superstitious folk, on May 6, 1910, Halley's Comet approached Earth and killed England's King Edward VII. No one could definitely say how it happened, but it certainly did, and that wasn't its only offense. The British also figured that it was an omen of a coming invasion of the Germans, while the French reckoned it was responsible for flooding of the Seine River. So yet there was even more apocalyptic type surrounding the 1910 return of Halley's Comet. Writings to the Royal Observatory, one worrywart...
Did you say worrywart? You're a worrywart.
One worrywart warned the comet would cause the Pacific to change basins with the Atlantic and the primeval forests of North and South America to be swept by the briny avalanche over the sandy plains of the Great Sahara, tumbling over and over with houses, ships, sharks, whales, and all sorts of living things in one heterogeneous mass of chaotic confusion.
It's like she basically predicted flood from the Bible. Though I am not an incredibly superstitious person, Halley's Comet does seem to coincide with some pretty bad shit in history.
There's more. So throughout history, there's always been a bit of a panic when comets approached the sun, burning off into long, ominous tails. But in the months preceding Halley's flyby of Earth on May 19th, 1910, folks got real creative with their anxiety. It didn't help that a few months earlier, the New York Times had announced that one astronomer theorized that the comet would end life as we know it. One skeptic was Percival Lowell, who noted the gas was so rarefied as to be thinner than any vacuum, and therefore posed no threat. Also stepping in was Robert Ball, director of Cambridge Observatory, who noted that another famed astronomer, John Herschel, reckoned that the whole comet could be squeezed into a portmanteau. or suitcase. Of course, he uses a fancy word for suitcase.
How close do these people think that this comet was?
Can destroy Earth as we know it. Others also adapted an outlook for the comet's approach. Tunesmiths composed songs to serenade the heavenly visitor, and poets burst into verse. Products such as Bird's Custard and Pear Soap featured the comet in their advertising. Says that pear soap is visible day and night all over the world was its slogan, because it kind of incorporated the panic as a way to sell their soap.
And it smelled like pear, or was it made from pear? Okay. Beside the point. Completely beside the point. Sorry.
Did it smell like pears? But other enterprising capitalists hatched more nefarious schemes. While the fraudsters hawked anti-comet pills, with one brand promising to be an elixir for escaping the wrath of the heavens, 2 Texan charlatans were arrested for marketing more types of sugar pills as a cure for all things comet. But police released them when customers demanded their freedom. Gas masks, too, flew off the shelves. So customers actually begged policemen to release these 2 Texans because
Please
they
let them go.
needed their sugar pills.
I need my anti-comet pills.
It's a little wonder then that some people were getting a tad riled up. Someone wrote, a shepherd in Washington state was reported to have gone insane with worry about the comet, while in California, a prospector nailed his feet and one hand to a cross, and despite his agony, pleaded with rescuers to let him remain there. Churches found themselves packed to the brim with worried followers, while at home people were going so far as to plug up keyholes, windows to keep the comet's vapors from entering. More rational humans saw the comet for what it really was, a truly spectacular event that a lot of us see but only once in a lifetime. As Earth passed through the comet's tail on May 19, 1910, curious onlookers packed rooftops around the world, while others enjoyed special comet dinners. Realizing they survived a near apocalypse, people in France danced and embraced in the streets. Sadly, folks in Atlanta missed out on all the fun on account of pesky cloud weather, and though the Atlanta Constitution seemed relieved, declaring that the clouds had, in fact, saved the city. Really, Atlanta and the rest of the Earth were saved by reality. For thousands of years of human civilization, comets have come and gone, yet we're still here. Weirdly, 2 years after the event came to an even more fanciful theory from Si Zhuchan Qingliang from the Imperial Polytech College in Shanghai. He said that it is obvious the comet has no tail at all, and the so-called tail must be the sun rays, which, while passing through the body of the comet, look like a tail. Should the comet itself be transparent, it could form a convex lens, then everything on Earth will be burnt, provided the sunlight passes through the body of the comet and the focus falls on the surface of the Earth. So he basically said that Halley's Comet was a giant magnifying glass, and we're ants. I read that. I'm like, he's calling us ants. Or she.
There's a lot of X's in that. I don't know if that's a male or female name.
So really, from that kind of doomsday, we wouldn't really have much protection, right? So if you were alive with the return of Halley's Comet in 2061, I guess we should just go and buy some sunglasses, right? So Halley's most recent return in 1984 marked the first time that scientists were able to study it with sophisticated technology. High-powered telescopes were trained on the comet from Earth, and 5 unnamed space probes dubbed Halley's Armada conducted flybys as it made its transit. One of them, the European Space Agency's Giotto, even included within 370 miles of the comet's nucleus. So the high-quality images returned by the probes were the first of their kind and provided fascinating insight into Halley, including providing once and for all that its core is a solid mass primarily composed of dust and ice. So far, no space agency has announced plans for another mission in future, but there's still plenty of time. The famed comet is not scheduled to make its next visit into the inner solar system until July of 2061.
Wow. I saw Halley's Comet in 1984. I did. I was a wee child.
I was 2. I don't remember.
Well, yes, I was not 2. I was 6 and I was really excited.
You just turned 6.
Yeah. I love space and always have. Huge fan of the space program. You know, I've seen a ton of space shuttles take off.
You went down to Florida all the time.
Yeah. So it was a big deal for me. It was very, very cool. It's possible we'll make it. Have another glass of wine. We're either going to be pickled or dead. I don't know.
I vote for pickled. Yep. So that is the story of the Halley's Comet panic. There's not really much of a panic because it's like, yeah, people got scared.
I mean, people took sugar pills and got weirdos out of jail and were scared that things were going to die and danced in the streets when they didn't die.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll call it a panic. Yeah.
It's an everyday thing. It's very Independence Day, you know? So that is the story of Halley's Comet, a 200,000-year-old fire in the sky. Just another notorious narrative. If you enjoy our episodes, you can also go to patreon.com/notoriousnarratives, where you can access exclusive content. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to be notified when a new episode is available. Keep it weird and never stop exploring.